Take the test for life. Monday at 5 on Channel 2 Action News. And now, from KCBS Television in Los Angeles, Southern California's most honored news broadcast. This is Channel 2 Action News Sunday Report.
Good evening and welcome to Action News. I'm Penny Griego.
And I'm Ross Becker. Topping our news tonight, officials in Ventura County are reporting what appears to be a fatal shark attack in their waters. The first such attack in Southern California in possibly 30 years. They say the body of a woman found floating off the coast of Ventura today had large bite marks in her leg and no sign of drowning involved. Officials believe the woman was a windsurfer, but she has not been identified yet. She's described as having short brown hair and is between 18 and 26 years of age. Penny?
Police in Compton tonight are asking for help in tracking down the killers of a 2-year-old boy. Philip Fisher is the latest and youngest victim of gang violence this year. He was being held in his uncle's arms outside his house on South Central Avenue in Compton last night. Suddenly, automatic gunfire burst out from a speeding car. Philip was killed. 5 other men were wounded. Police say it's usually tough to crack gang crimes, but they feel this killing has the community willing to act.
But the whole community becomes incensed about the whole problem, and so I'm confident we'll be able to find the suspects on this.
Police don't yet know the motive, but they say the killers used an assault rifle.
Well, it was a toy gun that got a man in some deadly trouble in Garden Grove, and tonight the Orange County DA's office says it will investigate this police shooting. It happened early this morning. Police were called to a domestic disturbance and found Dennis Gonzalez waving what looked like a gun. Police opened fire and Gonzalez was killed. But relatives at the scene tell Action News Gonzalez yelled out that the gun was a toy, and they say police shot him 19 times even after he fell to the ground. And tonight there is new information about a sheriff's deputy who hung up on a 911 caller. The investigation of Deputy Jim Greene may widen to include a second case involving a waitress in Castaic. In both cases, Deputy Greene hung up on 911 callers who were pleading for help. We have details from Doug Bruckner.
911 operator Jim Greene is already under investigation for his handling of an emergency involving this man who says the deputy hung up on him during a phone call reporting a gang shooting.
I'm going to get killed. Oh, yeah, there's blood everywhere. There's blood. Okay. Oh, damn. Oh, God, damn. Hey, everybody say, okay?
Now, a Santa Clarita Valley newspaper reports the controversy over that call is not the first complaint about Deputy Greene. The newspaper heard from a waitress at this Castaic restaurant who phoned for help after an abusive customer started grabbing objects and throwing them at her.
He said, you know, look, I don't have time for this BS. I have murders and stabbings to deal with, and he hung up on her.
The waitress insists on remaining anonymous, but another employee working that night confirms her story.
And he just hauled off and said, F you, and started throwing things and checking at him, and we were scared, and she was ducking all over the place, and that's when she called 911.
The waitresses say a squad car was finally dispatched. They say too late. Deputy Greene was not available to give his side of the story. Asked about possible disciplinary action against Greene, the sheriff's office referred reporters to Sherman Block's statement Friday.
I certainly could not come to the conclusion that this individual willfully or recklessly, with a disregard for public safety or any of that. He made a judgment. It was a wrong judgment.
In defense of its emergency operators, the Sheriff's Department gives this statistic. Fully half the calls to 911 come from people just testing the system or actually playing a prank on deputies. From the Santa Clarita Valley, Doug Bruckner, Channel 2 Action News.
After 3 years of delays and legal maneuvers, the trial of accused Nightstalker Richard Ramirez is finally set to start tomorrow in a Los Angeles courtroom. The 28-year-old drifter is charged in a series of 13 murders and 30 other felonies. He allegedly added the haunting element of devil worship to his crimes and even flaunted a pentagram for spectators at his arraignment hearing. Prosecutors say the evidence against Ramirez is overwhelming, and the main question will be whether he gets the death penalty. His defense attorney has revealed little of his own strategy, except to say that Ramirez will not plead insanity.
When LA school board members go to work tomorrow, they will get a letter. So will the teachers union. It's from parents and students who want to end the contract dispute between teachers and the school board. They met today to read and sign that letter, which was sparked by Friday's student protest and walkout and by the fact that teachers are withholding grades. Parents and students, well, they say they're being used as pawns by the teachers.
My grade is dropping, and I don't know what to do, because I don't know what I'm doing wrong, so I can't fix it.
I tell them, go to school, you do well, and there's a reward. And then they go to school and they come back and they bring a blank piece of paper, no grades. So I have no way of knowing how well they're doing.
Now, the problem is even worse for high school seniors who may be passed over by colleges without those official grades. The letter asks that a group of seniors be allowed to sit in on contract talks.
Well, the Lakers are on the road again, and we're hoping they have better luck this time. Here with a preview of Sunday Sports Final, Keith Olbermann.
They did.
Good.
There's no other way to say it, Benny. Yes, a lot better luck. The Lakers' out-of-town losing streak, as opposed to their road losing streak, is finally over, but the Kareem retirement streak has resumed. Dallas gave him an elephant. Your Republican congressman from Inglewood? Hoops, meantime, in town was a bloody mess as Loyola's Tom Peabody takes on Pepperdine without Sherman or the Wayback Machine. Why is USC losing? Because its players are practicing the post-game show at the free throw line. Football, who says the stars don't show up for the Pro Bowl? Denver's John Elway was there. In our week in review, an imposter referee incites the fans, while an imposter fan turns out to be inciting the referees. And we'll be talking baseball contracts as well with Wally Joyner.
What's my beef?
What's your beef? You followed Wally's contract negotiations, you know what his beef is. All that in a discussion of why there's a crease in my forehead in our Channel 2 billboards in the Sunday Sports Final.
Why you're not wearing a jacket.
Oh, this is the new relaxed look.
I see. Okay.
Good.
We now reduce the number of people in town wearing jackets at this hour to 3.
I can take my tie off now?
Oh, well, you have my permission.
Okay.
Thanks, Keith.
Thanks a lot. There's still much more ahead on Action News on this Sunday night. Up next, the VP gets set for a road trip.
And Ollie North gets set for trial. Details when we come back.
Vice President Dan Quayle goes on his first foreign trip this week, but the media may not be going with him. Quayle tonight canceled a second Air Force jet that was supposed to carry reporters on his visit to South America. Quayle says he's trying to save the taxpayers some money, but news organizations always pay for that extra plane. Quayle's spokesman tonight denies the vice president is trying to avoid any close media contact. And here's what may greet Quayle's boss on his first visit overseas. Fierce anti-American protests today by students in South Korea. President Bush will visit Korea next month on the same trip that will take him to Japan for the funeral of Emperor Hirohito. The students want a reunification of North and South Korea and say U.S. military presence stands in the way. White House aides say they don't expect Bush to change his plans because of the protests.
On Tuesday, former National Security aide Oliver North finally goes to court after months of legal maneuvering. The charges against him stem from his involvement in the Iran Contra Scandal 2 years ago, as revealed in the subsequent hearings. 2 of the most serious charges have been dropped, but North still faces 12 counts, including lying to Congress. Former Supreme Court Chief Justice Warren Burger hasn't heard a case since stepping down from the bench in 1986, and yet the jurist stands to receive a $60,000 pay raise from the government this year. When he retired, Burger claimed the status of senior judge instead of taking full retirement, and that keeps him on the active payroll. Senior judges are expected to help out on cases occasionally, but Burger says he just hasn't had the time.
Coming up next here on Action News this Sunday night, we've got some warming up in the Southland.
And cooling down in Alaska. The deep freeze goes on when we come back. Determination and $150,000 just might save the life of a Southland man. Rick Bellinson is 34 years old, and if he doesn't find a bone marrow donor soon, he will die of lymphoma. But his family and friends are determined not to let that happen. Tonight in Sherman Oaks, they announced a plan to find the donor. They intend to test as many people as possible, setting up testing centers at synagogues and Jewish centers.
This has been part of his life for 11 and a half years that he has lived wonderfully, and he's strong, and he has it in him, and he's going to beat this because we're going to find someone for him.
The family also says they need $150,000 to pay for those tests.
Well, much of Alaska continues to shiver in a deep freeze tonight. Temperatures plunged into the -60s in some areas, and forecasters say there's no relief in sight. Almost everything that can freeze has. Pipes and sewers have stopped running, as have most cars and trucks, but not the dogs. Here in Southern California, it wasn't the chill in the air, but the shaking in the earth that rattled some of us tonight. A small earthquake rolled through Orange County just after 7 p.m. It measured 2.8 on the Richter scale and was centered about 4 miles north of Newport Beach. No reports of any damage or injury from that.
Well, quake aside, it was a lovely Southland Sunday, sunny and warm, and the forecast is for more of the same. But first, let's check on today's numbers. The high downtown at the Civic Center today was 68 degrees. That was after an overnight low of 44. Right now, it's 55 degrees. The humidity is 77%. Winds are out of the northeast at 3 miles an hour, and the barometer stands at 30.10. Tonight, we'll have clear skies, but it will be a little bit windy. The low will be about 47 degrees. Tomorrow you can expect plenty of sunshine. Our high will be about 75 degrees. I'd say we can all enjoy that.
I will, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Just ahead, raising their voices and raising money.
The stars sing for quake relief when we come back.
Coming Monday on Geraldo.
Warning, this flight may be hazardous to your health. Flying, is it a ticket to death? I'm next to Geraldo.
Geraldo, Monday at 4 on the one and only 2.
On Inside Edition, a bizarre tale of bigamy, deceit, and one mother's 18-year hunt to find a runaway dad. And the bad girl of the Jacksons, LaToya, Playboy's newest cover girl.
Inside Edition, Monday at 7 on the one and only 2.
A galaxy of stars got together in Hollywood today. They're the top in pop, raising their voices in an effort to aid Armenian Quake victims. More than 500,000 people were left homeless by that December quake, and the 100 entertainers here today are recording a record and a video they hope will raise millions of dollars to help the Armenian Quake survivors.
We hope so, too.
Yeah.
That's our news. We sure thank you for joining us tonight.
That's right. Sports Final with Keith Olbermann is coming up next, so don't go to sleep yet. Stay tuned for Keith, and have a good week, okay?
Good night.
Good night.
Channel 2 is helping to make a world of difference.
Olbermann here. The Lakers get an honest-to-goodness road victory for the first time in 6 weeks, and Kareem gets a $10,000 elephant. Hank Gathers gets 31 points as Loyola avenges its loss to Pepperdine during the week. But sadly, there's no vengeance for USC. They are 3-pointed by Brian Quinnett till they start seeing things at Washington State. Would that this was what they had seen. Must be Pro Bowl time or a shortage of fabric. A tour win for the first time in 4 years, enough to set Mark O'Meara hugging everybody. Bobby Knight's gut, enough to set the spoofers going in Michigan. Yes, this is the Sunday Sports Final, during which we'll hear Wally Joyner exclaim,
I'll be happy with signing what they say they're offering me for a one-year deal and get on with baseball.
Were you surprised?
This Sunday Sports Final is sponsored by Wells Fargo Bank, coming through since 1852.
It was either a shot of Pebble Beach or a bear claw. Good evening. When the Lakers powdered the Mavericks here 2 weeks ago, those who remembered how tough Dallas was in the playoffs last spring said, aha, wait till the Lakers have to play them there. Well, the Lakers are still waiting. In the nationally televised matinee in Texas today, Michael Cooper starting for Byron Scott, 11 in the first quarter. And the coach is left thinking, ah, yes, this is how we used to win on the road. The captain, meantime, getting younger by the hour, 17 points, the nice hook, and the lead is 36-20 Lakers. Second quarter, they shoot 71%, and not all those easy jumpers either. Look at Tony Campbell. Hello, Federal. High man for the day, AC, 18 points in the first half, 25 on the game. Moving on the break off the feed from Magic. And ace was Joe Studley on the boards, too. 11 of them to go with a dozen from Worthy. 67-43 at the half. The Kareem farewell, meantime, resumed. Dallas President Norm Sanju citing his longevity and dignity by giving him a $10,000 elephant. Yeah, 10 grand. He bought the thing at Kresge's, 1995. Come on. No contest, second half. Lakers roll to a 118-93 win. Dallas's worst home loss ever, believe it or not. Another 3 Laker baskets, and John McLeod was going to have Dorsett suit up. Elsewhere tonight, Seattle stays 2 behind by beating the Bucks. Earlier, the Bullets won their 6th of the last 7, 38 for Bernard King. Boy, isn't this sad. Boston's win means they're only a game under 500. And suspended for his brawl Friday with Brad Daugherty, Bill Lambier of Detroit sees his consecutive games played streak end at 685. Just the other night, the Loyola Marymount Lions went to Malibu and were sucked away by the undertow, losing to Pepperdine by 25. It was different this afternoon thanks to Hank Gathers and a Peabody Award-winning performance. Who better to win a Peabody than Loyola's Tom Peabody, the guy for whom clean and upright are foreign territory. I slammed my face down onto his elbow. While P was sacrificing his body to lead the Lions, Hank Gathers was not sacrificing his nation-leading scoring average. In fact, Henry had 15 of Loyola's first 21 points as the Lions went to an early lead, and he parted the waves, if not the sea, en route. Back to Peabody. That name, of course, part of the famed cartoon team of Sherman and Peabody. So I'm probably hoping here for the Wayback Machine, or anything at all that would enable him to be safe just at one point this afternoon. Well, we'll call him safe as the umpire. All of Peabody's acrobatics and kickboxing couldn't keep Pepperdine from tying it at 34 on a Marty Wilson 5-footer, but the Lions would open up a 47-40 lead as finally some of Peabody's schoolyard toughness paid off. To Terrell Lowry, we should mention that if you think Peabody's mean, his teammate Chris Knight managed to foul out even though he only played 4 minutes. Gathers shown there, ends with 31, Loyola 99, Pepperdine 80. Well, it wasn't the fault of Stan Morrison or Jim Morrison or any other member of the Doors. USC basketball is just in the dumps again. It's so bad that they have to rely on a typo to win a conference game. They lost that game Thursday, 95-84. Today it was Washington State. The 1-7 Cougars go nuts. Brian Quinnett hits one of his 5 3-pointers. It's 9-0. A concentration problem? SC's Chris Moore at the line. Chris, you want fries or rings? He talks, he tanks. George Raveling may have talked to Chris as well later. SC actually puts together a 39-36 lead in the second half on the rolling break started by Rich Grandy. Anthony Pembleton had 23, but Washington State's Quinnett was proverbially unconscious. 5 for 5 from the distance, 44 total points, 1 shy of his own school record, and the Cougars would not be hindered down the stretch. Anthony Captain Kidd with the steal and subsequent slam to ice the 72-65 Trojan loss. SC is 0-8 in the conference. Stanford coach Mike Montgomery, convinced that Prairie beat Arizona earlier this season, tries to part the seas again, but all he gets is Kenny Lofton surfing off the steal as the rising in the ratings Zonas go to an 11-4 lead. Why is Sean Elliott so highly regarded by the scouts? Look at that first move, like the warp speed effect in the Star Trek movies. 30-18 Zona. Stanford, the Harvard of the West, I'm told. Yeah, exchange starts with an X at Harvard, too. Anyway, Elliott, 31 points, 8 boards, 58-38 here, 72-52 the final, and Stanford coach Montgomery disposed thusly of his game plan. Nationally, Louisville coach Denny Crum looks like this because of if desire and effort and good fortune were prerequisites for being #1 in the ratings, it wouldn't be a #1 this week. The Cardinals building up a 13-point lead on meaningless Ohio State this afternoon. La Bradford Smith goes to Everett Sullivan, who used to host a talk show on CBS on Sunday nights. But the Cards' hopes would go down, as would star center Purvis Ellison. This had the look of a career ender, but Ellison suffered nothing more severe than a sprained medial lateral ligament in the left knee. And the Ohio State fans were able to get the Get Well Purvis signs up in a hurry. Of course they did. They knew he wasn't coming back today. And without him, Louisville was in the target sights for OSU's Jay Burson. When Burson flings the loose ball pickup to Grady Mateen, another #1 pretender, Louisville has fallen 85-79. With 7 Clemson players suspended for what were termed only study hall violations, and those 10 guys having walked off the San Jose State team, we were wondering if Clemson and San Jose might get together to play the first ever playerless game. Clemson made do with 6 players and a team manager today against Duke, which had Danny Ferry back, and more importantly had Robert Brickey. That was Robert there. Here he is again with a Clemson cutesy knock play. When it goes awry, he scores. The half of Clemson squad sank quickly. Clemson coach Cliff Ellis rushes off to check whether his guys were throwing erasers or merely scribbling on the study hall desks. 62 points, pretty good for having 6 guys in the team manager. The other notable national score, Michigan humbles Purdue, 34 from Glenn Rice, spoiling that Boilermaker. The hockey, Calgary and Vancouver tied at 4. There's a lot more on the Sunday Sports Final. This guy tired of waiting for our talk with Wally Joyner. And if you don't get out of the way, he's going to nail you. So stay tuned and stay clear. Anybody who watches the business side of sports for any length of time probably thinks he's seen it all. But how about a ball player in a contract disagreement with his team who's asking for less money than the ball club is offering? And how about a ball club that replies to that by saying no? Such it is for Wally Joyner and the Angels. The popular first baseman has been offered a 2-year deal for $965,000 plus a couple $100,000 more in incentives for the first year, more money in the second. But that second year isn't guaranteed against the possibility that the owners will lock the players out in a 1990 labor dispute. So Wally wants just 1 year for just the $965,000, no incentives. In other words, less than the Angels are offering. All this came out Friday when the Angels released the money figures of their offer, the one they say Joyner turned down. Wally and I spoke this morning at LAX.
So unfortunately what happened Friday, I feel like was a mistake for the Angels to bring it out. The reason being is because the way they brought it out made me look bad, made me look like, hey, we're offering what he wants this year, more next year, hundreds of $1,000s in incentives. He's turning us down, and it came back to me as they went to the media as we need help from you guys because we're bending over backwards to sign Wally, and he's turning us down.
That $965,000 figure, nearly $300,000 less than the Giants will play Will Clark this year, happens to be what Joyner's asked for in arbitration, root canal.
It's a 2-hour event. 1 hour you're the best thing going. The other hour you're a borderline AAA player. So it's not very fun, but it's something that it's to the players' advantage to have. I'm not very accustomed to it because this year I finally reached arbitration years, so it's something new for me, but I feel very comfortable in going to arbitration and winning at what I submitted at.
Joyner's painful arbitration hearing would come a week from tomorrow if he and the Angels haven't settled by then. Industry insiders expect he'd win the decision easily, especially in light of how much people like Clark will make, but Joyner has a more peaceable solution.
I think what I'd like to do is just sign the 1-year deal at what they're offering me for 1989 and get it over with. I feel very comfortable with it. I feel very confident in my year that I'm going to have this year and the Angels are going to have this year. I think we've all worked hard the off season. I've talked to a lot of ball players. We're excited about 1989, and with that excitement, I feel that everybody can improve on their year last year, and if I can improve on my year next year, maybe I can get more than what they're offering me in my second year anyway.
Of course, as Joyner wings to Orlando for a celebrity softball game, money isn't the only concern. He did agree to participate in our complaint department called What's Your Beef? What's your beef?
My beef is I know that there's a lot of money being made with renting out Anaheim Stadium, but my beef is that all those tractor pulls and all those motorcycles jumping over first base really makes the ball bounce a little crazy.
See, not everything in life is money. If they ran giant tractors around where you work, you'd have a beef too. Joyner will miss in part the local tour stop of his second favorite pro sport. The LA Open this week set up nicely by a mano-a-mano finish at Pebble Beach today. Here's one of the manos, Tom Kite taking advantage of a mid-final round slump by Mark O'Meara. Kite birdies 14. They go up by a stroke over O'Meara with 4 to play. But O'Meara has his own good fortune at 14. This is his approach to within 2 feet of the pin. Sets him up for a subsequent bird to tie it up at 10 under. The tie holds till the 18th hole when O'Meara saves his bird and saves his tournament and puts some energy into the PGA heading towards Riviera on Thursday. First win in 4 years. When Mother Nature decided we would all need to sleep, she invented 3 things: nighttime cold remedies, overnight TV talk shows, and the National Football League Pro Bowl game. This bulletin from Hawaii: Denver's John Elway has been transformed into an 8-year-old girl from Maui. Here's your early local angle play. Tim Brown of the Raiders tackled by Jerry Gray of the Rams. In this paragon of irrelevance, who's being intense? Mike Singletary of the Bears. Oh, that's why he's staring. Your MVP in an NFC route, quarterback Randall Cunningham of the Eagles, who brilliantly executed his conference's high-quality precision offense. It's like a lacrosse game. Randy finally recovers and slings it to J.T. Smith for a surprisingly useful gain as the Ends go in for another score on the A's. Herschel Walker tallies twice for the Nationals. This makes it 24-3 NFC in the third, the final 34-3, and the Rams' Henry Ellard drew the lottery slip, allowing him to get on his local TV sportscast, catching the last Wade Wilson TD pass. Ordinarily, the World Championships of skiing would be, from the American angle anyway, even more dull than the Pro Bowl. But this year, for the first time since 1950, they held them in the U.S. at Vail, Colorado. They even had a laser show. And for a while, they had an American leader, Tamara McKinney, winning the women's combined slalom, winning it after her second run. But alas, the real reason she was winning was that Switzerland's Vreni Schneider hadn't gone yet. When the two-time Olympian finally did go, Schneider placed all of 12 100ths of a second better than McKinney. Second place for McKinney was almost as neat as the laser show, but Schneider won anyway. Neater than any laser show, Attack of the Killer Referees. Was this tough fan discipline in Boston the answer to the nutty fake ref in Quebec? We'll check it out in the Week in Review coming up next. Finally, time for our feature, The Week in Review, and this seems the most appropriate moment for me to mention that if you just somehow you have accidentally managed to see one of our 3.7 million Channel 2 Action News billboards, you should attach no particular significance to the fact that on many of them there are creases running up and across my forehead. Goodness knows I don't. Anyway, here's The Week in Review.
On aggression, but let's get the sponsorship out of the way first. We're brought to you by Bathtub Billy's. I don't know who Bathtub Billy is. I don't want to know who Bathtub Billy is. This is not Bathtub Billy. This is Helena Sakova, starring in the Australian Open version of Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. The worst part is when Helena and a giant irradiated Steffi Graf start playing tennis using these 400-pound bears as the ball. A lot of people seem to be in the wrong place this week at halftime of the UCLA-Washington State game. In the immortal words of Bugs Bunny, this don't look like Pismo Beach. Pepperdine president Dr. David Davenport doubling on sacks at the basketball game, budget cutbacks? Or does this look right? Wayne Gretzky of the Baltimore Orioles. Not even he could help that club. Or this guy, is that a referee perched atop the plexiglass at La Calissee in Quebec? Or just some yahoo inciting the crowd to riot against the real referees? Well, at least there's this. He won't be able to have kids. For one last incongruity, we go to Jovan's Bar in Birmingham, Michigan. Yeah, the bartender really is former heavyweight champ Leon Spinks. And the guy on the organ is two-time Cy Young winner Denny McLain. The best part is where Denny plays Sentimental Journey and Spinks recounts his entire list of traffic offenses and moving violations. Maybe Spinks could make a comeback against this guy, 7-foot-tall Carl Chancellor, an ex-discus thrower who lacks a little of the finesse required to box, but who can always be counted on to make his opponent look like a midget. We told you about this last week. This is the guy placing the $1 million bet on the Super Bowl. And this is the guy winning the $1 million Super Bowl bet. Notice, please, that some of the money is in McDonald's bags. McDonald's, change back from your million. And in basketball, some old familiar faces.
Some of the better looking ones, anyway.
Ouch. Some old familiar no faces at all, and some old familiar, well, those guys aren't mimicking Bobby Knight's smile, you know. Not a fun week for referee Bob Garibaldi, right in position to see if Utah State's Darrell White really saved this ball. Yeah, he really saved it. Another weird week for the Clippers. Quentin Daly is shooting at those invisible extra baskets again. And Houston's Sleepy Floyd apparently shares Jerry Rice's complaint, not enough attention from the press table. Well, the old referee on the wall is beginning to tell us that our time is up, just as this fellow's time is clearly up. We're even being shooed away by coaches like the Knicks' Rick Pitino. So we'll gently kiss it goodbye for another week. Who are they kissing to anyway? Oh, it's the Pepperdine coach, Tom Asbury. But before we, like Jim Herrick and UCLA, get the heck out of here before you change your minds, we'd like to remind you of our special offer.
If there is anybody, please, if there's anyone that wants their money back, you go to the Grant Street exit or the Grant Street entrance, and you will receive your full amount of money of purchasing your tickets back.
Just remember, your mileage may vary. That's our show tonight. Join us during the week if you can. Thanks for watching. Good night and good luck.
On the next Geraldo, meet a former air traffic controller who will reveal how dangerous it really is to travel by plane. Geraldo, tomorrow at 4 on Channel 2. And now, a Channel 2 editorial.
Governor George Deukmejian says he'll call a summit meeting in Sacramento next month on how to finance our state highways program without raising our gas tax. Our highways program is $2 billion behind in its projects. The reason it doesn't have the construction money is because our gas tax hasn't kept up with inflation. In 1964, 25 years ago, gas tax was 7 cents a gallon. In 1989, 25 years later, gas tax is 9 cents, only 28% higher. In that same time, construction cost has gone up 426%. The $1 million that once bought half a mile of freeway will now buy only 53 feet. California has one of the lowest gas tax rates in the nation. It also has drivers wasting 400,000 man-hours a day stalled in traffic trying to get to work. Some legislators have suggested raising gas tax by 10 cents a gallon to collect the $2 billion needed in 24 months. With all due respect, the governor seems locked in a read my lips attitude that he will not support a higher gas tax. California philosophy has always been that those who use highways should pay for them. That's a fair deal. What seems to evade the governor is that all those gritting their teeth in traffic jams are not interested in reading lips. They just want to get to work. So why not let them vote on it? I'm Bob Hyland.
The bizarre case of the runaway dad on Inside Edition.